During a family cruise, my brother stole my credit card and laughed. "Looks like you're covering everything now." I smirked and said, "That's funny because I just reported it stolen." His face turned white when the ship's security walked up and said, "I never expected a family vacation to turn into a full-blown revenge plot, but when you grow up with a brother like mine, you learn to stay prepared." My brother Derek has been a selfish, entitled leech his entire life, the kind of guy who'd borrow money and forget to pay it back. Take your car and return it with an empty tank, or even eat the last slice of pizza, and act like it was a personal favor. Our parents always let him get away with it. That's just how Derek is. They'd say, "You need to be the bigger person." I was so sick of being the bigger person. When our mom suggested a big family cruise, a week-long trip to the Caribbean, I hesitated, spending thousands of dollars to be trapped on a floating hotel with Derek. No thanks. But my fiancée, Rachel, thought it could be fun, and against my better judgment I agreed. Big mistake. From the moment we stepped onto the ship, Derek was already marching. He forgot to bring cash for drinks, accidentally left his credit card in his suitcase, and somehow his onboard spending account was mysteriously empty. That meant he started looking at me like his personal bank. I had barely sat down to order my first drink when Derek slid into the seat next to me with a wide grin. "Bro, cover me this round," I sighed. "Seriously, you didn't bring any money." He waved a hand. "Come on, I'll pay you back." He never did. But whatever. I let it slide. It was just a couple of drinks. Then it was dinner. "I'll venom you later, bro." Then it was casino chips. "I swear I'm good for it." Then it was excursions. Every single time our parents backed him up. "Just help your brother out," Mom said, sipping her cocktail like it wasn't her problem. "You make more money anyway." That was the part that always got me. Derek had this expectation that because I worked hard, because I saved, because I was responsible, I owed him. He blew every dollar he made on nonsense, then acted like I was a selfish jerk for not picking up the slack. By the third day, I was done. No more loans, no more handouts. Derek wasn't my responsibility, and that's when the real fun began. That night, after a long day of being dragged around by my family, I finally got some alone time with Rachel. We went to one of the ship's nicer restaurants, just the two of us, and for the first time since the trip started, I actually felt relaxed until the waiter handed me the bill. And my credit card was gone. I felt my stomach drop. I knew I had it earlier. I had used it to buy some drinks by the pool, but now it was gone. I checked my pockets, my wallet, my phone case, nothing. Then my brain started putting the pieces together. Derek, I had left my bag unattended for maybe 5 minutes earlier that day. When I went to the restroom, he had been right there when I got up the restaurant. Let me use Rachel's card to cover dinner. But the second I walked out, I pulled up my banking app. $250 charge at the casino, $100 at the gift shop, another $150 at the bar. It was still climbing. Clenched my jaw. Derek was done. I marched straight to the ship's customer service desk and calmly reported my card as stolen. They canceled it immediately, but I made sure to leave one very important detail. It was stolen by another passenger. The woman at the counter raised an eyebrow. "Do you know the guest's name?" I grinned. "Yeah. I'd love for security to have a little chat with him." 5 minutes later, Rachel and I were standing outside the casino when I spotted him. Derek, drink in hand, laughing his ass off at a poker table. I walked up behind him just as he reached for a fresh stack of chips, bought with my card. I leaned in, having fun. He turned, blinked, then smirked. "Hey bro, guess you're covering everything now." I smirked right back. "That's funny because I just reported it stolen." His face went pale before he could even stammer out a response. To ship security officers stepped up behind him. "Sir, we need to speak with you about some fraudulent charges." His jaw dropped. And that was just the beginning. Derek turned as pale as the ship's linens. His mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no words came out. The security officers loomed over him, their expressions unreadable, waiting for a response. Rachel crossed her arms next to me, looking unimpressed. "Go on, Derek," she said sweetly. "Tell them how you borrowed your brother's card, so I couldn't steal anything." Derek finally staggered, laughing nervously. "Come on, it's my brother's card. We always cover for each other." He shot me a pleading, "Right, bro?" I didn't say a word. I just folded my arms and let the moment stretch out. One of the security officers, a tall guy with a thick accent, pulled out a small notepad. "Sir, we've reviewed the charges. Since this was reported as theft, we have to follow protocol. We'll need you to come with us." Derek's eyes darted around the casino. Our mom and dad were nowhere to be seen, probably drinking cocktails by the pool. He looked to me again, desperate. "Come on, man," he hissed under his breath. "This is a joke, right? Tell them it's a misunderstanding." I raised an eyebrow. "A misunderstanding? Like how you have misunderstood that my wallet isn't yours?" One of the officers put a hand on Derek's shoulder. "Sir." Derek panicked. He jumped up so fast that his drink spilled over the poker table. "Wait, this is ridiculous." We're family. Turned to Rachel, then back to me. Dude, seriously, you're not gonna let them take me, right? I tilted my head, pretending to think that depends. Are you gonna magically pay back everything you spent? He didn't answer. I said, didn't think so. The officers escorted him out of the casino with him, sputtering the whole way. I watched, enjoying the moment, until I felt a tap on my shoulder. The pit boss, sir, he said, nodding toward the table. Your brother already cashed out some of the chips from your card. I assume you'd like them back. That was the first good thing Derek had done for me in years. I took the stack of chips and grinned. Absolutely. Part 3: Rough Waters. Now, if you think that was the end of it, you don't know Derek. For the next hour, I've expected my parents to show up, demanding to know why I let their poor baby get dragged away by security. But the longer it stayed quiet, the more suspicious I got. Something wasn't right. Rachel and I went to find my parents. Sure enough, they were exactly where I expected, lounging by the adults-only pool sipping margaritas. When my mom saw me, she sat up and smiled. Honey, have you seen your brother? He was supposed to meet us for dinner, but how he is? I folded my arms. I do know how he is. That's why he's with ship security right now. Mom's face dropped. What? Dad lowered his drink. Security. What happened? I explained every last detail: the stolen card, the charges, the confrontation, everything. By the time I finished, my mom's expression had twisted into something I knew too well: denial. No, she said, shaking her head. That doesn't make sense. Derek wouldn't steal from you. He was probably just borrowing it. How he is, Rachel scoffed. That's the problem. Dad sighed. He didn't say much. He never did when Mom went into full defense mode, but I could see in his eyes that even he knew this was bad. Then Mom did what she always did. She turned it on me. You should have handled this privately. You didn't have to embarrass your own brother like that in front of everyone. Couldn't believe it. Embarrass him. I repeated. Are you serious? He stole from me and I'm the bad guy. Mom waved her hand like she was shooting away an annoying fly. Please, can afford it. Why do you always have to make everything a big deal? Rachel grabbed my arm. She could see I was getting mad, and she was right. I needed to walk away before I said something I couldn't take back. But then as I turned to leave, my mom muttered under her breath, honestly, I don't know why you always have to be so selfish. I stopped. I turned back slowly. Selfish. She flinched at the anger in my voice but didn't take it back. I took a deep breath, shaking my head. What? Fine. If that's how you feel, then I'm done. Mom blinked. Done with what? I looked between her and my dad. Done playing the responsible one. Done bailing him out. Done pretending this family isn't completely messed up. I took Rachel's hand. Enjoy the rest of your trip. Then I walked away, but I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Part 4. The ultimate payback. Derek didn't get arrested. He got a warning, a temporary spending freeze, and a very strong suggestion to settle the charges with me before they took further action. That wasn't enough. No, Derek needed a real lesson. I spent the next day preparing. While my family ignored me, their usual tactic, I made a few calls. I reached out to my bank and disputed every charge. Since the ship had already flagged my card as stolen, my bank reversed everything immediately. Derek's bar tab gone. His casino splurge vanished. His shopping spree. Poof. Now all those charges would be kicked back to him. Since he had put the purchases under his name using my card, the ship's finance department held him responsible. Since his spending account was empty, that meant one thing: Derek had no way to pay, and on a cruise ship. It's a big problem. By the time he realized what had happened, it was too late. He stormed up to me at lunch, red in the face. You got my charges reversed, he hissed. I took a slow sip of my drink, clenched his fists. What the hell, man? Now they're saying I have to pay before I get off the ship. I leaned back in my chair, pretending to think that is a problem. You have to fix this, he demanded. Just on dispute the charges. I grinned. That's not happening. He looked like he wanted to hit me. Instead, he stormed off, probably to beg my parents for help. But even they weren't rich enough to cover everything he blew. And me, I just sat back, enjoyed my fully refunded vacation, and waited to see how he planned to get out of this one. Because there was one thing Derek didn't know. If you don't settle your bill on a cruise ship, they don't let you leave. I spent the next day enjoying the cruise like nothing happened. For the first time in years, I wasn't stuck playing Derek's babysitter. No more guilt trips for my mom. No more quiet sighs from my dad. No more mooching. Just me, Rachel, and an unlimited drink package. But I knew Derek was spiraling. By now he had probably figured out that the ship wasn't going to just let him walk off without settling his bill. Cruise lines treat unpaid balances like an airport treats an overbooked flight, except instead of getting bumped to another trip, you're stuck until you pay up. By the last full day I could feel the tension brewing. My parents barely spoke to me. Derek had completely vanished, which was both hilarious and suspicious. But I didn't really care what he was up to. He'd screwed himself over, and there was no crawling out of it, or So I thought that night Rachel and I were getting ready for the farewell dinner when my phone buzzed a text from my mom, "Come to the guest services desk." Now, I stared at it for a second, then another text popped up. "Your brother is in trouble." I showed Rachel, who raised an eyebrow. She said, adjusting her earring. "Do we care?" I shrugged, "Not really, but now I'm curious." We made our way down to the lobby, and that's when I saw a full-blown scene. Derek was at the front desk arguing with the ship's finance officer. My parents stood nearby looking embarrassed while other guests in line were very obviously eavesdropping. As soon as Mom spotted me, she waved me over frantically. "Finally, talk to them, tell them this is a misunderstanding." I folded my arms. "I'm sure it is. What's the issue?" Before she could answer, the finance officer, a no-nonsense woman with sharp glasses, looked up from her screen. "Are you the cardholder?" I nodded. She exhaled, then turned to Derek. "Sir, your account balance is still outstanding. If this is not resolved, you will not be permitted to disembark tomorrow." Derek was sweating. "This is insane. I don't have that kind of money." The woman didn't flinch. "Then you'll need to contact someone who can cover it." Derek's wild eyes locked onto me. I smirked. "Nope," Mom gasped. "Don't be ridiculous, you have the money." I said, "That's his problem." Derek was desperate. "Dude, come on, you can loan it to me." I gave him a cold stare, like how I've loaned you money for drinks, for dinner, for the casino. He flinched. "I'll pay you back." "I swear," Rachel scoffed. "Like hell you will." Derek turned back to the finance officer. "There has to be something I can do." She looked him up and down, then slowly nodded. "Actually, there is an alternative." We all went silent. Derek swallowed. She tapped something on her tablet. "The ship has a work program for guests who are unable to settle their accounts. If you enroll, you'll stay on board after disembarkation and work in a temporary staff role until the balance is cleared." I swear the entire lobby went quiet. Derek looked horrified. "You're saying I have to work on the ship?" She nodded. "Typically in housekeeping or kitchen assistance." Rachel's jaw dropped. She covered her mouth, but I knew she was holding back laughter. I took a deep breath. "So let me get this straight." I gestured at Derek. "He either pays or he stays on board and works until he does." The finance officer nodded. "That is correct." I turned to Derek. "Dude, you're about to be an employee." Panicked. Mom, Dad, my parents were speechless. My mom looked like she might faint. My dad rubbed his temples like this was finally the moment he realized he'd raised an idiot. Then Derek exploded. "This is your fault," he screamed at me. "If you had just covered the bill, none of this would have happened." I laughed in his face. "No, this is 100% on you." The finance officer crossed her arms. "Sir, you need to make a decision." Derek turned to my parents. "Please. Just put it on your card, I'll pay you back." Mom hesitated. Dad looked over it. "No." Dad finally said. Derek's mouth dropped open. "What?" Mom gaped at him. "What do you mean?" "No." Dad exhaled slowly. He did this to himself. Derek looked like he was about to throw up. He turned back to the finance officer, panic setting in. "Wait, how long would I have to work?" She checked the screen. "Based on your balance, approximately 3 to 4 weeks. Rachel lost it. She turned away laughing so hard she almost fell over. Derek screamed. 4 weeks? I can't stay on a cruise ship for 4 weeks. The finance officer didn't care. "Then you'll need to settle the balance." Derek looked defeated. He had no money, no way to pay. And my parents weren't saving him this time. The realization hit him like a brick wall. He was stuck. Patted him on the back. "Guess you should have thought about that before stealing my card, ha." He opened his mouth probably to curse me out, but security stepped up again. "Sir, please come with us." They led him away. I watched, savoring the moment, and then Mom turned on me. "This is your fault," hissed. "You could have prevented this." I shrugged. "Nah, he did this all by himself." Mom's face twisted in rage, but she didn't have an argument. Because deep down, she knew I was right. The next morning, Rachel and I packed up, had a nice breakfast, and walked off the ship completely stress-free. Derek, he was nowhere to be seen, probably already scrubbing dishes or folding towels. For the first time in my life, I knew one thing for sure. Derek was finally getting a taste of real consequences. And me, I had never enjoyed a vacation more. Rachel and I stepped off the ship feeling lighter than ever. The salty breeze, the warm Caribbean sun, it all felt better knowing Derek was stuck on board scrubbing toilets. And the best part, I didn't have to deal with his whining for the entire 4 weeks. That didn't mean he stayed quiet. 2 days after we got home, my phone started blowing up. "Derek, you have to fix this. I'm stuck in a tiny room with 2 other workers. Can't do this, bro." Then another. "Derek, they have me cleaning cabins. I had to scrub a toilet today." "Toilet, dude." Then another. "Derek, they took away my casino privileges. No more free drinks, no more nightlife, just cleaning. Every damn day." I read each one while sipping my coffee, enjoying every last word. Then, as if on cue, Mom called. I put her on speaker and Rachel smirked. already knowing what was coming. Mom launched straight into it. How could you do this to your own brother? He's suffering. I took a slow sip of coffee. You mean, he's facing consequences? Mom huffed. He's cleaning bathrooms. Do you know how humiliating that is for him? Rachel laughed. Sounds like he's finally learning what it's like to work a real job. I nodded. Must be tough, not having someone to cover for him. Mom ignored that. He's begging to come home. There has to be something you can do. I played dumb. There is something. He just has to pay off what he owes. He can't do that right now. I shrugged. Then I guess he's working. Mom lost it. You are being cruel. I laughed. No, Mom. You and Dad coddled him his whole life. This is reality. Welcome to it. She gasped, furious. You've changed. You used to be such a good brother? I smiled. No, I used to be a doormat. Then I hung up. Rachel burst out laughing. That was perfect. Yeah, I said, setting my phone down. And I'm not done. Over the next few weeks I let Derek rot. His texts became more desperate. Derek, dude, please, just cover half. I'll pay you back. Derek, I'm begging you. Don't know what this place is like. Derek, I had to clean some dude sick off a balcony. I want to die. Honestly, I was thriving. Then 3 weeks in he tried one last move. I got a text from an unknown number. Unknown, big bro, it's me, Derek. Guess what? I found someone willing to cover my bill. But the ship says I still need your permission to unfreeze the disputed charges. Can you just call the bank real quick and fix it? I stared at my phone, amused. Rachel looked over my shoulder. He's so full of it. I grinned. I know. I replied, me so glad you found someone. Who is it? Derek, just a friend. Don't worry about it. Me, I worry. Because if you really had someone, they just pay the ship directly. He didn't reply for a full 10 minutes. Then Derek, bro, come on, just do this one thing for me. I laughed and typed me. No. Enjoy your shift, Derek. Then I blocked the number. Rachel shook her head, smiling. You're evil. I stretched. Nah. I just finally let him drown in his own mess. Derek ended up working the full 4 weeks. Every time he tried to call home, my parents begged me to step in. I didn't. When he finally did get off the ship, I didn't hear from him for weeks. Then one day Rachel and I were at a family barbecue when he walked in. He looked miserable, tanned, thinner, and humbled. He didn't even say hi. He just gave me a death glare and went straight for the food. Mom pulled me aside, whispering, "Don't say anything. He's been through enough." I smirked. I wasn't going to, but I did leave one little thing for him to find on the picnic table next to his plate. I left a brochure, a fancy glossy travel brochure for a luxury Caribbean cruise on the cover, a photo of the exact ship he had been stuck on. Rachel barely held in her laughter when Derek sighed. His eye twitched, his hand clenched around his fork, then without a word he stood up and stormed out. Mom glared at me. Was that necessary? I grinned completely. Rachel burst out laughing, and that my friends was the best vacation I've ever had.